Hello, good evening to you all. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello. Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir.
Are you waiting for the students to join?
Yes, sir, please, I'm putting on the page so that they will join the class.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So you have done up to chapter 3, or where are you supposed to start from?
Sir, please, unless I double check again, I don't want to give you any wrong information.
Okay. Check and give me the information whether we are starting from 4 or 10.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. Hello, Ricky. Hello. Good evening. How are you? Yes, I'm also doing fine by God. I have joined you, but it's only one student that's online. Okay, thank you. Bye. Hello, good evening to you all. Hello, good evening to you all. Good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, please, we are waiting small for the others to join. So let's hold on small. Let's wait for more.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Hello, should we start or we should still wait small? What do you suggest? Because not even half of the class are joined. Should we start? Hello, those on board. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Should we start or we should wait small? Because it seems to.
Sir, I think we can start because they are not joining.
Can we, please, I'm talking to you or we should wait small?
Doc, let's
Can you hear you? You said we should do what?
start.
Okay, okay. So the other lecture last week, where did we end? We ended on what? Lecture 3 or lecture 4? Yes. Those who joined the last lecture that we had. We ended on lecture what? Yes, lecture what? Oh, please, are we in a class? I'm talking to you. Nobody wants to talk. Where did we end?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I am not sure though, but I think we ended on lecture 5. No, lecture 4. The memory.
Yes, please. You were making some points. Can we hear you? You said you are not sure, but you ended where?
Lecture 5.
We ended on lecture what? 4 or 5?
So we start with lecture 4, sorry, lecture 4 memory.
We we, we finished lecture 4.
Yes, sir.
So we are going to lecture 5, right?
Yes, sir. The
Oh,
hard, yes.
okay. Then let's quickly start from the lecture 5. I think now some students are trying, so we can't keep on waiting. I'm giving them ample time to join. If they are not joining, then I can start. Okay. Please, is this our last meeting or we are going to have another meeting again?
Sir, I think this is our last meeting.
This is our last meeting.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Oh,
So no, this is our last but one. This is our last but one.
So are we going to have another lecture this weekend?
Yes, sir. Because this one was
yes,
supposed to meet
sir.
for the weekend, but we meet during the weekends. That's why.
So we are going to lecture 5. Lecture 5. We are going
Okay,
to
sir.
deal with describing ports and what connectors. So that's the lecture that we are going to have, describing ports and connectors. Please, I've shared the screen. Can we all see the screen that I've shared? Please, can we all see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mine is visible.
Yours is visible. That is good. So that is computer hardware, describing ports and what cables and connectors. So, what do you hope to achieve out of today's lecture? You should able to understand the fundamental principles of what using some personal computer. And you should also be able to identify the various ports and cables that we have when we talk about the computer. When we talk about computer, so identifying what some common ports. So when we talk of ports, we are saying that the ports are what they are connection points on your computer that allow for what devices to be connected to your computer. So ports are what connection points. on your computer that allow for devices to be connected to your computer. And the connection point has what? Has a connector. Mostly the connection point, we have what we call the connector that accepts what? A cable with what? With a matching connector. So that's what we talk about. Well, some of the most common ports that we all know when it comes to computing, that we have the serial port, we have the parallel port, we have the USB or the universal serial bus, then you have the IEEE 1394 port. So these are some basic ports that we have when it comes to computing. When we talk of parallel ports, what are they? So the parallel ports, what they mean that they send data over what? Multiple wires simultaneously. That's they try to send data over multiple wires simultaneously. And we can also say that parallel communications allow for multiple streams of data. They allow for what we call multiple streams of data. And they provide what? Higher data transfer rate than the serial communication. Then we can also talk about a serial port. What it also does is that it also sends data over only one wire at a time. And it delivers data sequentially downward a single wire. So that's what when we talk of this serial port. So you can see the diagram that I've shown on the screen. We have the serial port and we can see the parallel port. So we have the game port and all those. But we are saying that currently, if you go to the market, most of this port, the serial port, the parallel port, they have all been replaced by what? USB. They have been replaced by USB, all replaced by USB. So serial port, parallel port, and some of those days we used to have what we call the PS2 port, the game port, and now if you go to the market, most of the current computers that we have, most of these ports have been replaced by what? By information to give you the distinction. And the serial port is what is a series of ports is what is one that transmits data at a time in a single stream, that's zeros and ones. And the parallel port is one that transmits multiple data bits at a time. And I think we have to look at the definition already. So we can also use one of the parameters like the purpose to also do what the difference. So the serial port is used for serial data transmission. Whereas what parallel port is also used for parallel data transmission. And in terms of what transmissions into, we can say that the serial port transmission speed of a serial port is slower as compared to what the parallel port. And transmission speed of the parallel port is also quite what high as compared to the serial port. We can also do the difference. You can do the differentiation by using the number of what bits, the number of data bits that they can transfer. In terms of what the serial port, the serial port can transmit what 1 bit at a time through a single wire, whereas the parallel port can transmit set of data bits at the same time through what separate what wires. So we can look at the difference in terms of bandwidth. Serial ports, they are used to connect what those territorial devices that require low bandwidth, whereas the parallel port are also used to connect those devices that require what relatively what higher bandwidth. We can also look at the connector, the redundancy, and the number of wires. So that is in the nutshell. But currently, we are seeing that most of this thing that we have, most of the current computers and the desktops, laptops, and desktops that we are having in the market, all these serial and the parallel port have been replaced by what? By USB. So in terms of the connector, I think the serial port is what DB9 connector and a 9-pin D-shaped connector, which connects what to the transmission line. Whereas the parallel port also is what the D25 connector or the 25-pin D-shaped connector. and all these things are there. So that's the difference between the serial port and the parallel port. You can also look at the capability, the port type, the data sending mechanism, and so on and so forth to do the distinction. So whilst you are reading, please take your time and go through it very well. So a serial port is able to transmit a single stream of data at a time, whereas a parallel port is also able to transmit multiple data streams at the time. And in terms of the port type, you can see that the serial port uses what we call the male port, whereas the parallel port uses what the female port, So another port that we also look at is the universal serial port. In short, we call it what the USB. The USB is what is a more modern method of communicating using serial communication methodologies. So the standard for USB is what for USB 1.0, where it was released in 1996, and USB 1.1 in 1998, USB 2.0 in 2000, and the USB 3.0 in 2008. But if you look at the way the USB market has been transformed, and now the goal of the USB was to revolutionize how serial communication was conducted. And now it is the order of the day. Most gadgets, most devices, most laptop, desktop come with the USB. All the serial and the parallel ports have entirely been replaced by the USB. So the universal serial port, I think we have the USB 2.0, USB 2.0 million, and so on. So these are the sample features that you can see. The various USB system that we have in the market. We have the Type A, and so on, the Type C, and so on and so forth that you can see in the market. And that's the great feature for you. It's like to fulfill this goal, USB uses a cabling system that allows up to 127 devices to be connected. So it also delivers power to the devices connected on this bus. So if you look at this, you can see that we have the USB, we have the Type C, micro USB, and the Lightning. And the specification for USB dictates how devices should support plug and play. So USB enables you to plug in devices and have them work without having to worry about power cable for the drivers. Yes, that one is true. So because of the USB, you can do the plug and play. In some USB devices that require large amount of power, they also use supplemental power supply. We also have the fireware, like the IEEE 13.4 as one of the ports. Then the fireware is also an Apple trademark for IEEE 13.4 standard. That's the fireware for the Apple, those who use Apple. And that the 13.4 standard implements a version of serial communication across wiring network that is similar to the USB. So the Apple IEEE 13.4 enables connecting system to very external device on the bus. So that's yes, that if you look at it, all of this was to replace the CSCI. So that is that. This one is for the Apple computer. Then we have the Thunderbolt. Apple has also moved away from the fireware, and that's the old technology, and they have now moved to what we call the Thunderbolt. So Apple has moved from the fireware as a connection port in favor of Thunderbolt. So Thunderbolt now uses what the industry standard mini display port, that is the MDP connector, but it runs proprietary signals over connections. And we also have what we call the multiplexing of GCMA. So this multiplexing allows it to support variety of devices over a single bus. So Apple is currently using what we call the Thunderbolt instead of what the IEEE 13.4, and that's also one of the ports that we can do. When it comes to the keyboard too, when keyboard started, we used to have what we call the PS2, that's the personal system keyboard. But now we don't have this in the market. This connector is no more in the market. it has all been replaced by what? USB. When we get this, we have to get PS2 what? Port so that we can get the connector to do the connection for you. But currently, that's all been replaced by what? USB. Most of the keyboards that we have in the market is using what? USB instead of what the PS2, connector. So that is that for you. In terms of the monitor to monitor, yes, that with the demise of what the MDA. So MDA, that's monochrome or display adapter. That's the
Sorry, Papa.
hello, hello. Please do you want to talk? Hello. Okay, fine. Let's move on. So when it comes to the monitor tool, the monitor mostly it is using what we call, it started with AGC, EGA, and now we have what we call the VGA cables. The VGA cables. So that is what we also use to connect what the monitor. That's the video graphics was array. But currently, most of the monitors it also used to have what the LCD, LG monitors have the DPI, that's the digital visual interface port, and that is that for you. But most of this now they are also not in the market and have been replaced by a lot of new technologies. So the latest generation of devices are typically including what the HDMI. So rather most of the monitors that we have in the market have been replaced by what the HDMI instead of what the distance, the digital visual interface or the video graphics are like the VGA. That's all been replaced by what HDMI ports, like the HDMI ports. That is so you have to know the old technology and the current what technology. Most of the monitors that we have in the market was the HDMI ports. Please, and we also have basic types of cables and where they were used. So one were those days we used to have what we call the ribbon. The ribbon, some of the old desktops. We have the ribbon cables. They are often used to connect what components inside the computer, such as the hard disk drive and the floppy disk drive. So they are made up of what several wires laid out or parallel to each other in such a way that they resemble a ribbon. So if you look at the picture of the screen, I think those of you who in the old computers we saw those of cables, that's the album belt or something. But now we have them in the market. No, we are currently using SATA cables for those things. Then we also have what we call the twisted pair cables. The twisted pair cables. The twisted pair cables, they are all cables. Twisted pair cables are everywhere in the computer because they are used for wired network communication. So the twisted pair cables consist of what 3 or 4 cables of what wires. And mostly, if you look at the network wires and the network cables, you will see that if you try to slash it and take the code out, you will see those cables that have been bundled together. The cables that have been bundled together, that's what we call the twisted pair cable. And it is mostly used for computer networking. And if you want to terminate these cables, you have to use what we call the RJ45 to terminate it. And where do you slot the RJ45? You slot the RJ45 in the network in the network port that is sometimes at the back of what your laptop or in your computer. So we have the twisted pair cable that is always terminated by what the RJ45. And when the twisted pair cable also came, we used to have what we call Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7, up to a whole lot of things. So now we have moved on, and we are now in the Cat 7, or we are even above that. So take your time once you're reading, you look at the twisted pair cables and what it does. And think of the Cat 1. I said the Cat 1 is what it's a UTP cable designed for audio signal transmission. And we don't talk of the Cat 2, that's the UTP cable is designed used for low speed transmission. This wiring was designed for analog telephone application. Then when it comes to the Cat 2 to Cat 3, it's also an GTP cable designed for data network and mind. Yes, then we have the Cat 4, Cat 5, and Cat 6, Cat 7. So please, once you are reading, take your time and also look at it. History of what internet LAN cables and so on. So you have the Cat 1, the Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, Cat 5, all in the market. And it depends on whatever product you want to plug to get. We have the treated ventilator types. Then we have the thick and thin rod coas, the thick and thin coas. This one, where do you find it? I think if you have ever used your TV, you have a TV and you have ever mounted a TV pole, and mostly the TV cable, you look at the TV pole cable, you look at it, and that's what the coas was cable, coaxial cable. So the thick coaxial is of already half-inch coaxial cable, capable of carrying 10 megabyte, 10 megabit per second Ethernet data. A distance of 500 meters. So the thick coax is also referred to as what the thickness or the 10 base 5 and so on and so forth. So like you have to look at that. So that's what we call the thick and not thin coax. Mostly we use it in our TV cable. Like it to get connect to the antenna, then we join it and connect to the TV antenna for you to get what from good signals and the video will also look nice. So that is that the TV cable is what we call the thick and that. Then after that, we also have what we call the fiber optic cables. The fiber optic cable is also so thin that is measured in microns or micrometers. So the fiber now is the order of the day, go to most telecommunication industries, and that's what they're using. They are connecting their mast with what fiber, and the fiber will help you get what better internet service over what any other cable, and that is what most the communication industry like telephone, telecell, MTN, and co. They are laying fiber here and there so that people can get what better internet service. And there are a lot of advantages if you use fiber for your network. Then your network is going to be faster than those who are using the fiber. So that's what we call the fiber optic cable. And there are a lot of advantages for you. We have the cable orientation. Think of cable orientation. The cable orientation refers to how two connectors fit together. So it will actually be referred to as what connector orientation. Connector orientation. That is, it refers to how two connectors fit together. So it will actually be referred to as what connector orientation. So more to the point, what happens that cable orientation defines how cable connector attaches to one another, which is usually on a computer or on a mobile phone. So just about every time the term cable orientation is used, it refers to what internal ribbon cables used to connect serial ports, parallel ports, floppy drives, hard drives, CD-ROM drives to the motherboard. But what happens that the connector with the pins is the male connector, and the connector with the holes is what we call the female connector. So, and even though the female connector does not have pins, the holes on the female connector are typically referred to as what pins. Typically referred to as pins. The common types of what connectors. You see that despite the many types of cables, there are what very few types of connectors. And what are these connectors? The following are some common types of connectors that we will encounter. One of them is what the DB9. The DB9. When we talk of the DB9, the DB9 connector is what is a D shell type connector. So named because of its shape. So it's the D shell type connector. What goes on again? The DB9 has 9 connection points arranged in 2 rows. So which is that the DB9 is having what 9 connection points, and these connection points they are arranged in 2 rows. This connector is what is used to this connector used to be found on the back of the computer in its female form to be used with on CGA or EGA monitor. Now, what happens that they say you will find a male DB9 connector on the back of your computer as one of the 2 types of serial connectors on the home. So this is the picture of the DB9 connector that we are talking about. We have the DB9 connector, and if you look at the shape, it's like a D shape, and that's a sample picture. And currently, most these things they are gradually phasing out. They are gradually getting out of market. So that's the DB9 connector. Then we have the DB15 connector. The DB15 connector is also known as the HD or DB15 or AD15. And what is that? It has a familiar shape of what the D shell connector, but contains higher density pin arrangement with what 3 rows of 5 connection points rather than all the traditional 2 rows. So typically it is used for VGA and SVGA monitor connections. So that's the DP connector, and that is, if you have not seen some before, we have shown you the picture over there. Or once you are reading, you can also go to Google image and look out for more pictures so that you can see something yourself if you don't have the hardware lab. Then you have the DB25 connector. The DB25 connector. Yeah, what you have to know is that once again, what's happening that you will see the familiar shape of what the D shell connector on the DB25. But this connector supports a 25 connections arrangement in what in 3 rows. So this connector is found on your computer in this mail form in the row of what serial port, and that's what we call the D25 port. And in its female form too, as a parallel port. So please take your time and go through this DB25 connector is also there. Then we also have the RJ45, RJ1, and the RJ45. That's we have the RJ11 and RJ45. Let's talk of the RJ11. That is short for registered jack. That's smaller module connected and all that clip into the matching holes. Then we have the RJ45. That one, I think I've talked about it already. The RJ45 connector, that's the larger kind of what RJ11 connector. Usually what accepts 8 wires connector is used for what 10 base T or 10 base TS. And mostly we use it to terminate our network cable so that we can connect it to our PC. So please, let's look at that to RJ11 and RJ45. And we also have another sports that we talk about. So this is the RJ11 and we have the RJ45. The RJ45 mostly used for computer networks. We use it to connect all the network ports so that we can connect it to our computer. If you come to my office now, I'm using the RJ45 that I've been used to terminate my network cable at both ends. And I've been taking it from the source, from the wall, my computer, using the RJ45 I'm able to get the internet. The RJ11 mostly we use it in telephone communication, and sometimes we use it to also connect to the projector, or sometimes just depends on what we want. But mostly we connect our telephone lines and those things. So that's the RJ11 for you. Then we also have what we call the BNC. The BNC. The BNC is what connector is used for Ethernet networking. BNC is also sometimes referred to as what British Naval connector. British Naval connector. The BNC connectors join with what a male BNC that has what protruding out point that fits into the female connector, and then a ring is what is turned on the outside of it. So this is the BNC connector. Mostly we find it in the network card on our network card. But now most computers don't come with this network card, but what you can see that they come with what we call the network card has already been embedded onto the motherboard. But if you're using a network card, then mostly you need the BNC connector and the BNC TO connector for you to do your network. But this is an old technology and it is no more in the market. Then we have the universal serial bus, that's the USB connectors. We have the type A connector, we have the type B connectors, and the type C, and so on and so forth. So please, when it comes to USB, you know this. The type A connector, I've shown you some picture of the type B. We have the USB 3.0 type A. We have the micro B. We have the USB 3.0 micro B, and goes on and on and on. And most of the connectors now that we have in the market, they are USB. USB connectors. That's what we have in the market. Then we have the USB hub. The USB hub. What is the USB hub? We are saying the USB allows for more devices to be connected that will go to the computer. So what happens that the USB hub support two modes. That's the passive and the what? The active. Passive and the active. When we talk of the passive USB hub, what it does, it allows for what? The wire-based connection between all the parts. Wire-based connection between all the parts. And when we talk of the, which allows all devices to communicate. So the passive what hub does not add any extra power to bus. So if you have several high power devices such as the base drivers, you will find that you do not have enough power for the devices. Then you also have the active USB hub. What it also does is that it also supports the USB bus by helping to keep the signal strong and also enable management of circuits that require power. And on. Then we have the I3P13. So I think we have talked about connectors. And the 13 and the 4 and 5, we have the 13, 4, 4, 2000. And all these things are in place. Then we have the standard external cables. Standard external cables. What are the standard external cables are used on the outside of the computer to connect what peripheral devices. So the most commonly what fuse connector on the external cables is the D-shell connector. That's named for each shape, which is usually what's called the DP. Then we also have the parallel cable. The parallel cable has what a male DP type connector on the end and on the end that connects with your computer. And also the male what Centronics 36 connector. We have the parallel extension cables, also has the male type connector to attach your computer. And also, we go ahead to also have what we call the female DP connector to attach to the parallel. So we have the now modem cable. The now modem cable transfer data via a serial port between computers that are close. So this is an example of what the now modem cable. And the now modem cable is what communication, the serial communication is for the now modem, which nullifies or eliminates what the need for modem by directly or connecting the end by directly what connecting the send and receive port for the devices. We also have the multimedia connectors, and I think that's the analog audio connector. So most of you, I think you have joined this online class using the analog audio connector. That's the analog audio connector. That's what I'm also using for my presentation. So the main analog audio connector used in your computer is what is the 1/8 watt each connector, which is what is the standard what headphone, speaker, and microphone jack for most sound cards. So for most sound cards. So that's the multimedia connectors also for you. So musical instrument, that's digital interface, that's the MIDI connector. It's also used to connect most electronic keyboards and many other instruments having the MDI connectors on them. So if you want to connect your keyboard and all those to your computer, then you need what we call the MIDI, that's the physical instrument digital interface connector. That will help you to connect your PC, help you to connect your computer through or through the motherboard or through other computer can also accept it. Then you have the multimedia connectors, that's the analog, video, and cable. So we have these three pins. But now we have these three pins to connect your hoofers. Then after you can connect those to what? To the actual TV or something. So that this will be your Boazia cable that can carry out audio and video signals. And now I don't think we have some of these things in the packet. They have all been replaced by what? Either what HDMI cables or can be replaced by USB outright. So we don't have some of these things in the packet. We also have the multimedia connectors. And we have the digital audio connector, we have the digital video connector, we have the display ports. The display ports, they are similar in dimension to what HDMI, and they make them what less than half the size of the video or the DVI ports. Then we also have the digital video ports and the digital video connector. The home video market and standardize all this to the ATM, and that is the high definition multimedia interface. Video for that type one for digital video. So most of these things that we are talking about, they have all been replaced by HDMI. And that's the cable that is currently okay, that's what we replace. So that is that for you. We have the multimedia connectors. So we have example of the Coasia, we have example of the Optica, we have example of the HDMI. That's what we are talking about. That can port, we have the Coasia and the HDMI cable. So please, once you are with people time, go through and to well with it's not anything difficult. We have seen most of these things before. We have the DVI connectors, and the DVI stands for digital visual interface. And what is that? It offers what a distinctly or sharper, better picture than the DVI. So it's a unique connector which carries what both digital and analog signals. So what it does that it can also be easily compared to other standards like what the HDMI or the DVI. What are some of the types of DVI connectors? We have the DVI one, that's the single link and dual link. So that the one in the name is for integrated, as this port type supports of digital and analog video signals over the same connection, which allows or that's allowing other type of content to be connected. Then we have the dual link connectors. What it does that it also sends twice the video signal. And when it sends twice the video signal, it allows them to be used on large, high performance displays over a long distance. So that is the types of the DVI connectors, the DVI1, and the dual link connectors, Then we also have the DVI, that's the single link and the dual link. We have the DVI-A, and we have the mini DVI. So the DVI-A is on the A in the name is for analog, as this port type supports only analog video signals and it's used for connection to analog mounted through an adapter. Then we have the mini DVI and the micro DVI. They are also two small form of what DVI connectors, which Apple has used on its laptop lanes, its laptop lines. So what happens that you will find these smaller connectors on the laptops, they are mobile devices. We have the DVI single link here. That's the sample picture that you can see. DVI-P single link. We have the DVI-A. We have the DVI dual link. The DVI-1 dual link. And it goes on. Then we have cable adapters. What are cable adapters? Yes, now the many types of adapters can join different types of cables on devices. In the following section, we give us a brief description of some of the major types. We have the barrel connectors. The barrel connector. What's the purpose of the barrel connector? The term barrel connection comes from one thin net networking. So we derive this term from what we call the thin net networking. What is the thin net networking? We are saying this is where cables could be extended by means of an adapter. Resembling a small barrel that accepts a male connector on either end. So that's the barrel connector. You can say it is connecting two network cables to a particular computer or to a particular destination. That's the barrel connector. And that's a sample picture that we have seen over there. So the network cable will take it to some point. And when it gets to that point, the computer is still too far, you still connect to a different network cable. When it gets to that point, you have not reached where the computer is, you also connect to a different barrel connector. So when you get to the actual point where you can slot in the RJ45 slot into the computer or the desktop, that's the barrel connectors. You also have what we call the gender charges, the gender changes, the gender changer. So the gender changer, they are also a bit of a strange beast. a bit of this. Why do you say they are straight and true connected that don't change the order or connection of the pins? But rather what they do is that they change the sex of what the connector they are attached to. That is whether the connector is male with pins or female with holes. They look like connector that has either two male or two female ends. And that's a sample of what the gender changes that you can see on the screen, the gender changes. And so that will be all for this is not everything important. This is what you stages. So please, if you have any question, let's ask if you have any discussion or something that you want to support radio, you can ask. Okay. If there's something bothering you, whatever you are trying to do, you can ask. Then that I'm also going to go to the house rest. Any questions so far? Hello? Hello? Are we there?
We are there, sir.
This is port and connection, port and connectors. This is not everything big code. It's computer hardware. It's the port and the connectors they are found at the back of our laptops or desktops. Most of the ports and connectors that we talk about, they are old USB, which have all been replaced by USB. Currently, you can buy your computer, you can only see USB port, and most of the ports and connectors that we're talking about they are all out of market. So it's not anything. Yes, do have any questions? Whatever you have.
Sir, please, I can't hear you.
You can't hear what?
Voice.
Why can't you hear my voice? Can you hear me now? Can
Yes,
you hear me now?
yes, please. Yes, please.
What we have gone through, do you have any question concerning describing port and cable connectors? And at the back of our computer, do you have any question? Or I've given the slides to you already. If you have any question, you will be able to start. But apart from that, if you have any question, I can record the class a quick so that I can also go home and rest more. I'm already tired. And we've gone through a lot, some of the basic. Any question?
Sir.
Any question? Yes.
So, thank you very much. Please, I would like if you can make it snappy for us. You are like you summarize everything for us.
Summarize in what terms? How do you want me to summarize for you?
In terms of maybe the port, you summarize the port, then you move on to cable, you summarize it, then the connectors, you make it snappy for us so that we get the concept.
The concept is what I've gone through with you. And I started by discussing the serial port, the parallel port, and I told you at some point that all the ports that we are talking about, they have all been replaced by US. I said that you agree to that. Hello, do you agree to that? Hello, are you there?
Hello.
I don't know how I'm going to summarize it for you, but I said, do you have the slides?
Yes, please.
You have the slides.
Yes, please.
That's the summary. That's the summary because this slides is just about some few slides that you are done. And we are going through most of the slides, but I just don't know which part that is bothering you that you don't understand. Because I do use paper by adding some pictures and all those things to this cat 3, cat 4, cat 5 photos. Most of them, we are now using cat 9 and cat 10 or something. So I don't know which part is bothering you. The DB9 connector, that's the picture over there. You have seen some before, yes or no? You've seen some before, but now these cables, you don't see them in the market unless you are using the old desktop or something. That's where you begin to use them. Yes. Any question? Please, any question? Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir.
No question. If there's no,
we are there. No question.
then,
Sir,
I want to
from my end, no question.
then I want to quit the class because this is not anything difficult. I want to quit and go home because I'm tired. I'm already in the office, getting to 6. I have to go home. If you understand that, that's all. The questions will come from these things. It's not going to be anything difficult. I'm going to set the questions so that everybody can bring. I'll come down to your level. So just go through the slides and that's all. You'll be able to see from wherever we get up to. We are ending this weekend and this weekend we'll end. Wherever we get to, I'll set the questions up to that level and now we need to do.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then all the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Doc. And bye.
Bye-bye. A lot of blending.
Hello. Hello. Can I be heard? Please, class, has the class ended? Did I hear what you said? Please, I'm asking, has the class ended?
Hello, senior colleagues. Hello. Hello.
Those around, please help us. Let's know something. Please, has the class ended? Energy. Energy.
Yeah, Henry.
Please, has the class ended? Energy, please, I can hear you.
I said the class has ended.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And please, was he able to finish with all the chapter 5?
So, yeah. He said it's very tight.
Okay. And please, did he leave any assignment for us? So, Energy, please, did he leave any assignment for us? Energy, please, I can hear you.
He didn't leave any assignment.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.